Let me tell you something that's going to make your blood boil. WWE had the audacity, the nerve, to look us dead in the eye and call the 2023 Men's WarGames match one of the greatest spectacles in Survivor Series history. But here's the truth they don't want you to know: this match was nothing more than a carefully orchestrated setup to push Roman Reigns again, while legitimately talented wrestlers were left to pick up the scraps. And if you don't believe me, stick around, because I'm about to expose every calculated move, every political decision, and every moment that proved WWE still doesn't care about what we, the fans, actually want to see. The teams were set. On one side, you had Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Randy Orton representing the so-called Rebel Lion against tyranny. On the other side stood Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso, Drew McIntyre, and a mystery fifth member that everyone knew would be someone massive. The stage was Chicago's All-State Arena. 2 rings, 1 steel cage surrounding both. The most brutal match concept WWE has in its arsenal. But before we even get into what happened inside that cage, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. This match was never about competition. It was never about letting these 10 superstars go out there and steal the show organically. This was about one thing and one thing only: keeping Roman Reigns looking unstoppable while giving the illusion that his opponents had a chance. And WWE thinks we're too stupid to see through it. The match started with Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso, and I'll give credit where it's due. The emotional intensity of brother versus brother had the crowd absolutely electric. These two beat the hell out of each other with a personal vendetta that you simply cannot fake. Jey was fighting for his freedom from the bloodline's manipulation. Jimmy was fighting to bring his brother back home. For those opening minutes, this felt real. This felt like the kind of visceral storytelling that makes professional wrestling the greatest form of entertainment on earth. Every 5 minutes, a new participant entered, alternating between teams. Solo Sikoa came in next for the bloodline, and immediately the numbers game tilted. The sheer brutality this man brought into that cage was undeniable. Then came Sami Zayn, and the Chicago crowd lost their minds. Sami's story with the bloodline had been brewing for over a year at this point, and seeing him step into that cage to face his former brothers was poetic justice. The chemistry between these 4 men, knowing their history, added layers upon layers of emotion to every strike, every suplex, every near fall. Here's a question for you in the comments: who do you think had the most to prove in this match? Jey Uso trying to escape his family's shadow, or Sami Zayn seeking revenge for his betrayal? Drop your answer below. Drew McIntyre entered next for the bloodline, and this is where things got interesting. Drew had been positioned as this mercenary, someone who aligned with Roman not out of loyalty but out of calculated self-interest. The Scottish warrior unleashed hell on everyone who wasn't on his team, reminding everyone why he's one of the most physically dominant superstars on the roster. But even in his dominance, you could see the cracks. You could see that this alliance was temporary, fragile, built on sand rather than stone. Seth Rollins entered fourth for his team, and the architect brought his A-game. The visionary had been vocal about wanting to dethrone Roman Reigns, wanting to prove that Monday Night Raw was superior to SmackDown, wanting to cement his legacy as the guy who finally ended the Tribal Chief's tyrannical reign. The high-flying offense, the strategic attacks, the way he coordinated with his teammates showed why Seth Rollins is one of the greatest in-ring performers of this generation. Solo Sikoa continued to be an absolute wrecking machine, physically destroying anyone in his path. Then Randy Orton's music hit, and the place absolutely erupted. The Viper had been out of action with a back injury for over a year, and his return at WarGames was one of those wrestling moments that gives you legitimate chills. The RKO started flying, bodies were dropping. Orton moved like he'd never left, proving that some legends never lose their touch. The mystery fifth member for the bloodline was revealed, and it was Centimeter Punk. Just kidding. It was actually The Rock. Also kidding. It was Karrion Kross. And the crowd response was, well, let's just say it wasn't quite what WWE had hoped for. Kross came in with his intense psychology and methodical offense, but you could feel the air leave the arena just slightly. This wasn't the game-changing reveal that would shift the momentum permanently. Finally, Cody Rhodes entered last for his team, and this is where the match kicked into absolute overdrive. The American Nightmare brought the fire, the passion, and the desperation of a man who had everything to prove. Cody had been on this journey to finish his story, to win the title his father never could, and every move he made was calculated toward that singular goal. Quick question for the comment section: did WWE make the right call having Cody Rhodes enter last, or should it have been someone else? Let me know what you think. The carnage that followed was absolutely insane. Tables were broken. Chairs were weaponized. Bodies flew through the air, crashing into steel cage walls. Jey Uso hit a massive splash from the top of the cage through a table on the outside. Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa had a brutal exchange that looked legitimately dangerous. Drew McIntyre delivered a claymore that echoed throughout the arena. Randy Orton hit RKOs on multiple opponents in succession, each one more vicious than the last. But here's where my blood starts to boil again. Despite all this chaos, despite all this violence, despite these incredible athletes putting their bodies on the line, the finish was entirely predictable. Roman Reigns, who had been getting beaten down for portions of the match, suddenly found superhuman strength at the exact right moment. Because of course he did. Because that's what WWE does. They book Roman to look vulnerable just long enough to make you think maybe, just maybe, this is the night he gets his comeuppance. And then he pulls out the win anyway, standing tall, looking unstoppable, while commentary sells him as the greatest of all time. The finishing sequence saw Roman hit multiple Superman punches and a devastating spear on Cody Rhodes for the pinfall victory. The bloodline stood tall once again. Roman's reign of dominance continued, and all of us watching were left with the same frustrating feeling we'd had for the past 3 years. When is this actually going to end? Don't get me wrong, the match itself was spectacular from a pure action standpoint. The athleticism was off the charts. The weapon spots were creative and brutal. The emotional storytelling between the Usos, between Sami and the Bloodline, between Cody and Roman was compelling. These wrestlers gave everything they had inside that double cage, and they deserve all the credit in the world for the physical punishment they endured. But WWE's booking philosophy completely undermined what could have been an all-time classic. Instead of letting the match breathe, instead of creating genuine uncertainty about the outcome, they followed the same tired formula they've been using for years. Roman looks vulnerable. Roman gets beaten down. Roman somehow survives. Roman wins. Roman stands tall. Repeat next month. The problem with this approach is that it trains the audience to stop caring about the outcome. When you know the ending before the match even starts, when you can predict every major beat because it's the same story they've told 100 times before, the emotional investment disappears. And that's criminal when you have this level of talent in the ring capable of creating magic if you just let them. Here's another question. Do you think Roman Reigns' reign was too long at this point, or was WWE right to keep the championship on him? This is a spicy one, so I want to see some debates in the comments. The post-match beatdown was vicious. The Bloodline continued their assault, making sure to send a message that nobody, and I mean nobody, was going to stop their dominance. Solo Sikoa looked like a future main eventer in his own right. Jey Uso proved his loyalty was unwavering. And Roman, well, Roman did what Roman always does. He stood in the center of the ring, championship held high, while the entire wrestling world wondered how much longer this was going to continue. Looking back now with the benefit of hindsight, this match represented a pivotal moment in WWE storytelling. It was the continued build toward WrestleMania 40, where Cody would finally finish his story. But in the moment, watching this live, it felt like yet another chapter in the never-ending Roman Reigns saga that had long overstayed its welcome. The talent in this match deserved better. Cody Rhodes deserved a moment that didn't feel like just another stepping stone in someone else's coronation. Seth Rollins deserved to be positioned as a legitimate threat rather than just a supporting character. Randy Orton's return deserved a bigger payoff than eating a pin after being gone for over a year. Sami Zayn and the Usos deserved to have their emotional story be the centerpiece rather than the background noise. This is what frustrates me most about WWE's booking during this era. They had all the ingredients for something revolutionary, something that could have shifted the entire landscape of professional wrestling. Instead, they played it safe. They stuck with the formula. They protected their golden goose at the expense of everyone else. So here's my final question for all of you. Was the 2023 Men's WarGames match a masterpiece of athletic performance held back by predictable booking? Or am I being too harsh on what was ultimately a very entertaining match? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments below, and don't hold back. If you made it this far, you're a real one. Hit that like button, subscribe to Wrestling Zone 1 for more brutally honest wrestling analysis, and turn on notifications because we're not done exposing the truth about WWE's booking decisions. Share this video with your